secret place, a realm not seen with eyes, yet known deeply by the Spirit. It is where peace overrules panic, where faith silences fear, and where divine protection surrounds you like a shadow that never leaves. Many people wake up and rush into the noise of the world, forgetting that their greatest strength lies in where they begin their morning, with God. The difference between a day filled with chaos and a day covered by grace often depends on the first voice you listen to when the sun rises. Today, I want to take you into a sacred prayer, one that holds promises so powerful that when spoken with faith, they can shift the very atmosphere around your life. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Those words are not just poetry, they are a covenant. They are a divine invitation from God Himself, calling you to dwell, not visit, not occasionally enter, but dwell. To live in His presence, to anchor your soul where His protection reigns. The morning is not just another beginning, it is an altar, a moment of consecration, a sacred opportunity to place your day under divine command before the world lays its demands upon you. When the dawn breaks and your eyes open, there is a spiritual transaction waiting to happen. Heaven stands ready to align your steps, but it requires your invitation. That is why a heartfelt morning prayer isn't routine, it's warfare. It's not about reciting words, it's about setting authority over your atmosphere before the enemy has a chance to speak. Every morning, unseen battles begin. Anxiety waits at the edge of your bed, doubt lurks in your thoughts. But when you begin your day by entering the secret place, you are declaring to every dark force, this day belongs to the Lord. To dwell in the secret place means to make God your permanent address. It's the recognition that your safety, your peace, your clarity, and your purpose are not found in your schedule, your plans, or your strength, but in His presence. Every time you whisper His name before you begin your day, heaven listens. Every time you open your heart in the stillness of morning and say, Father, I trust you, the angels take their positions. You see, prayer is not about informing God. It's about involving Him. When you make Him the center of your morning, you are giving Him permission to become the architect of your day. There is a spiritual law that what begins in the spirit governs what unfolds in the natural. That's why the psalmist understood the necessity of dwelling, not visiting. If your morning starts in fear, your day will echo confusion. But if your morning begins in faith, your day will manifest victory. The one who dwells in the secret place is not moved by circumstances because he lives in continual awareness that the Almighty is his covering. That awareness changes how you face traffic, how you respond to bad news, how you treat others, how you deal with challenges. It transforms everything. When you wake up, your first breath is not just oxygen, it's opportunity. Heaven waits for your words. Angels listen for your command. The Spirit of God waits to guide you, but He moves where He is invited. Hey, who dwells? That's you deciding to stay where divine safety is promised. To dwell is to rest in faith, to rest in assurance, to rest in the unshakable confidence that the same God who kept you through the night will guide you through the day. And when you whisper your morning prayer, you are not praying to a distant God. You are speaking to the one who already walked through your day before you did. He knows every conversation you will have, every person you will meet, every temptation that will come your way, and every blessing that waits for you. The power of a heartfelt morning prayer is that it positions your heart to receive divine wisdom before you even face the world. In that quiet conversation with God, something powerful happens. Your fears are silenced. Your doubts lose their voice. Your mind aligns with divine order. You stop reacting and start responding with faith. The moment you open your heart to God, heaven begins to respond to earth. The peace that surpasses all understanding begins to settle in your spirit. It's not just peace that removes trouble, it's peace that gives you strength in the midst of it. Every verse of Psalm 91 is like a divine shield. It speaks of refuge, protection, deliverance, and faithfulness. It's a spiritual blueprint for safety in a dangerous world. But to activate it, it cannot just be read. It must be lived. You have to dwell in it, breathe it, and believe it. It's not enough to know about the secret place. You must choose to live there daily. And when you make that choice each morning, you are declaring that your faith is stronger than your fear, that your trust is greater than your trouble, and that your heart belongs to the one who holds your future. When you wake up and speak words of faith, heaven begins to build walls of protection around you. The verse says, "I shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge." That's not symbolic, it's supernatural. It means divine security, divine awareness, divine attention. It means that when you walk out the door, you are not walking alone. The presence of God moves with you. The same wings that protected you in the darkness now shield you in the daylight. There is a powerful truth hidden in that imagery. The wings of God are not static, they move. They guide, they protect, they carry. Just like an eagle shelters its young beneath its wings, God covers you in times of danger and lifts you in times of weakness. When you pray each morning, you are not asking for protection. You are activating the covering that was already promised. Every morning, Before the world demands your attention, heaven demands your connection. Because prayer is not about informing God of your problems. It's about reminding your soul of his promises. It's about starting your day not with what you see, but with what you believe. It's the choice to look beyond the noise and focus on his presence. When you begin like this, fear loses its power, confusion loses its grip, and faith begins to lead the way. This is why the psalmist said, I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In him I will trust. Notice he didn't just think it, he said it. There is authority in your words. What you declare in the morning shapes what you experience throughout the day. When you open your mouth and say, God is my refuge, you are establishing your spiritual territory. You are letting heaven and hell know where you stand. You are declaring that no matter what happens around you, your faith remains anchored in him. Faith must be spoken. Silence may seem peaceful, but spoken faith is powerful. That's why your morning prayer should not be a whisper of fear. It should be a roar of confidence. When you say, Lord, you are my fortress, you are building spiritual walls around your day. You are wrapping your mind in protection and covering your spirit with strength. And as you speak, angels respond. They move according to your declaration, guarding you in all your ways. When you start your day under the shadow of the Almighty, your steps are guided even when you don't realize it. That unexpected delay that saves you from an accident, that sudden thought that helps you avoid a mistake, that quiet peace that keeps you calm during a storm, all are results of your morning alignment with God. Prayer isn't just words, it's partnership. It's you walking into the day holding God's hand, knowing that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Your morning prayer must become your daily habit because consistency builds covenant. You cannot expect daily victory from occasional prayer. Just like manna fell daily for Israel in the wilderness, God's presence is meant to be received fresh every morning. When you open your eyes and your heart to him first, he refreshes your spirit before the day even begins. Every morning you pray, you are reinforcing your divine immunity. Psalm 91 says, surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. That means that even what you cannot see, God is already handling. The traps you didn't know existed, the attacks that were forming against you, the dangers that were hidden, he is already delivering you from them. That's the power of a heartfelt morning prayer. It places your life in divine hands before danger even approaches. You don't have to wake up in fear of what the world might bring. When your first conversation is with God, you walk in confidence, not anxiety. You walk with purpose, not panic. Because you know that the one who holds your day is also the one who holds the universe. And this is where the mystery of divine protection becomes so real. You don't always see what God is blocking, what he is removing, what he is rearranging behind the scenes when you start your morning with him. The invisible hand of the Almighty begins to move before you even rise from your knees. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually God shielding you from something you could not handle. Sometimes what feels like rejection is really his redirection into safety. The one who prays before the sun rises walks through the day with a light the world cannot extinguish. Because when you dwell in his presence, the Spirit of God becomes your compass, and every step you take is guided by divine wisdom rather than human impulse. Prayer in the morning is not a reaction to fear. It is a declaration of trust. It's you saying, Father, before I touch my phone, before I answer the world, I answer you. The early moments of the morning are holy. They are not to be wasted on noise, but to be dedicated to the one who sustains you. The psalmist said, my voice you shall hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning I will direct it to you, and I will look up. Notice the direction. He prays, then he looks up. Because when you start your day with prayer, your vision changes. You stop looking around for answers and start looking up for guidance. The presence of God doesn't just give you protection. It gives you perception. You begin to sense danger before it arrives. You begin to discern truth from deception. You begin to feel when peace is disturbed and know when to be still. This is what it means to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The shadow follows the source. To remain under his shadow means to stay close enough that his presence is always covering you. Every morning when you pray, you are choosing to walk under that covering again. You are realigning your heart under divine authority. And when the psalm says, you shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, it reminds us that protection is not limited by time. The same God who guards you while you sleep guards you when you step into the sunlight. The arrows that fly by day represent sudden attacks, words spoken against you, unexpected challenges, hidden enemies, spiritual warfare that tries to drain your peace. But the scripture says, you shall not be afraid. Why? Because fear loses its grip where faith lies. You can walk through a storm and still remain calm because the secret place is not just a location. It is a spiritual condition of the heart that cannot be shaken. When your day begins with God, his peace becomes your armor. You can go through things that would have broken others, and yet you remain whole. People will look at you and wonder how you maintain your strength, not realizing that your strength is not from you. It's from the one you met before the day began. That's what happens when you build your mornings with prayer. Your roots grow deeper in faith, and no storm can uproot you. Think about how the enemy operates. He wants your attention the moment you wake up. He wants you to be consumed by worry, distracted by chaos, and led by emotions. But when you silence every other voice and speak to God first, you disarm his strategy. You take back control of your atmosphere. You are saying, this day will not be directed by fear, but by faith. Every time you pray, you remind the enemy that he no longer has authority over your peace. And that peace you receive in prayer is not fragile. It's spiritual power. It's the peace that confuses the enemy because he cannot disrupt what God has declared whole. Psalm 91 promises, 8,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. That means even when the world is shaken, even when chaos surrounds you, there is a divine shield that keeps you steady. It doesn't mean challenges won't appear. It means they will not prevail. Your morning prayer is what activates that shield every day. When you begin to live like this, you walk with a quiet confidence, not arrogance, not pride, but the calm assurance that your life is divinely managed. You stop trying to control everything and start trusting God with everything. You begin to realize that his presence is not just a feeling. It's your foundation. You may walk through valleys, but you will not live in them. You may face storms, but you will not drown in them. Because the one who promised to deliver you from the snare of the fowler also promised to be with you in trouble and to honor you with long life. A heartfelt morning prayer aligns you with divine timing. You stop rushing into your own plans and begin to move with God's rhythm. You start hearing his whispers more clearly. He tells you when to speak and when to be silent, when to move and when to wait. This is not religion, it's relationship. The secret place is not a ritual, it's a meeting place between a child and a father. And every time you meet him there, something inside you changes. You begin to carry his peace into the places you go. You become a vessel of his presence in your home, your workplace, your conversations. The reason Psalm 91 carries such weight is because it's not merely words, it's covenant language. Every promise is rooted in God's faithfulness. He shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. That's not poetic, it's divine assignment. Angels are not mythical beings, they are messengers and protectors assigned by God to those who trust in him. When you pray each morning, you remind heaven of your faith, and heaven responds by dispatching protection around you. Some of the near misses, last-minute changes, and unexpected escapes you've experienced weren't luck. They were divine intervention. Your prayer triggered angelic movement. This is why the enemy fights your prayer life so hard. He knows that a praying believer is a protected believer. He knows that if he can distract you before you pray, he can disturb you throughout the day. But when you choose to seek God first, you make your life a moving sanctuary. You become untouchable in spirit because you are covered by his shadow. You are not exempt from challenges, but you are exempt from defeat. Think of how many people step into their day carrying yesterday's weight. Their hearts are burdened, their minds cluttered, their spirit restless. But when you come before God in the morning, you unload that weight before it begins to control you. You lay your anxieties at his feet and receive his strength in return. You don't have to carry what God already promised to handle. You simply have to trust him enough to surrender it in prayer. That's the power of a heartfelt morning connection. It keeps your soul light and your faith heavy. The psalm says, because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. Notice the condition. It begins with love. God's protection is not mechanical, it's relational. It flows from the intimacy of love. When your prayer is not just a request but a conversation of love, heaven opens its gates for you. You don't just pray because you need something, you pray because you love someone. That love becomes your shield. It's what causes favor to follow you, peace to find you, and strength to sustain you. The heart that prays in the morning is the heart that carries divine awareness throughout the day. You start to feel his presence even in the simplest things, a whisper of gratitude when you breathe fresh air, a moment of peace in a busy hour, a sudden insight when confusion tries to rise. You realize that prayer is not about escaping the world, but about walking with God through it. You stop separating the sacred from the secular because you understand that wherever you go, the presence of God goes with you. There's something sacred about the stillness of morning. When the world is quiet, heaven speaks the loudest. That's when your spirit is most open to receive divine instruction. Sometimes God doesn't answer your prayers in the noise. He answers them in the quiet. And when you train your spirit to hear his voice early, you begin to recognize it clearly when the world grows loud. The more time you spend in that secret place, the more confident you become in discerning his will. Every person who has walked in divine power had one thing in common. They prioritized presence over pressure. They didn't move until they prayed. They didn't decide until they sought God. because they understood that one word from heaven could save years of struggle on earth. That is the kind of wisdom that flows from a morning spent with God. It doesn't just protect you, it directs you. It saves you from unnecessary battles and leads you straight into divine purpose. As you pray in the morning, remember, God doesn't just want your words, He wants your heart. He wants sincerity, not repetition. He wants your dependence, not performance. He wants to be the first one you speak to and the last one you think about. When you begin your day with Him, you are saying, Father, you are my priority, not my afterthought. And that single decision changes the spiritual climate of your entire life. When you pray, imagine yourself stepping into the shadow of the Almighty, where fear cannot find you and anxiety cannot control you. Imagine His presence wrapping around you like light, shielding you from darkness. Imagine His peace guarding your thoughts and His joy filling your heart. That is what happens every morning when you choose to dwell in Him. You may not always feel it, but faith doesn't depend on feeling. It depends on knowing. You know He is there because His word promised it. The morning prayer becomes your declaration of dependence. It is your daily reminder that you cannot make it on your own. You need His wisdom to navigate decisions, His strength to face battles, His grace to handle people, His patience to wait for timing. Without Him, even good plans can fail. But with Him, even small beginnings can lead to great victories. So when you open your eyes tomorrow, don't just reach for your phone, reach for His presence. Don't just scroll through notifications, scroll through His promises. Before you look at what the world has said, remind yourself of what God has spoken. Whisper, Lord, I dwell in your secret place today, I trust you. Cover me, lead me, and guide me. And then rise knowing that heaven has heard you. The beauty of this divine exchange is that as you keep praying, you begin to transform. You become more patient, more loving, more discerning. You stop reacting in anger and start responding in peace. The word you speak in the morning becomes the strength you walk in all day. You start to live with spiritual rhythm, each day flowing with divine grace. Every morning prayer builds a layer of spiritual protection over your life. Like bricks laid one upon another, they form a fortress that cannot be easily broken. Even when storms come, that foundation holds. Because prayer is not just communication, it's construction. You are building your faith brick by brick, moment by moment, morning by morning. When you choose to begin your day in the secret place, you are not escaping the world. You are empowering yourself to change it. You are choosing to carry God's presence into your meetings, your conversations, your challenges. You are becoming the vessel through which His peace touches others. That's what it means to truly abide under His shadow, to become an extension of His love wherever you go. And as your heart continues to trust, as your faith continues to grow, you will see that the promises of Psalm 91 are not distant. They are daily. They are living truths activated every time you believe, every time you pray, every time you declare, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. There comes a point in your walk with God when you begin to realize that a morning prayer is not only a spiritual practice, it is the heartbeat of your faith. It is the secret rhythm that sets the tone of your entire life. Every word you have spoken in that sacred time has built a wall of strength around your soul. Every whisper of trust, every moment of surrender, every tear shed in the quiet hours of dawn has been collected by heaven. And now, as you look back on this journey, you begin to understand the true beauty of Psalm 91. It is not merely a psalm of protection, it is a psalm of relationship. It's an intimate conversation between a soul that trusts and a God who never fails. The power of that relationship is not in what you receive, but in who you become because of it. When you start your day with God, you become less anxious and more anchored. You begin to realize that your safety doesn't depend on your circumstances, it depends on your connection. You can face uncertainty with calmness because you know that the same hands that hold the universe are holding your life. You can walk through storms without fear because you are no longer walking alone. You have learned to dwell in the secret place, and that place has become your identity. Every morning that you chose prayer over panic, you grew in grace. Every time you lifted your eyes to heaven instead of focusing on the problem, you gave God permission to move on your behalf. You may not have realized it, but those moments of faith have been rewriting your story. The angels that Psalm 91 speaks of have been responding to your voice. The Spirit of God has been aligning events, shifting people, and orchestrating outcomes that you couldn't see but will soon testify about. This is what happens when a believer chooses to start their day not by looking at what's wrong, but by remembering who is right there with them. There is something unexplainably beautiful about a heart that begins its day in the presence of God. That heart carries peace into every conversation. That heart becomes a beacon of hope in a world drowning in noise. People begin to feel something different around you. They can't name it, but it's the residue of God's presence. It's the fragrance of prayer that lingers long after you've said amen. You don't just carry your faith, you radiate it. That is the silent power of a heartfelt morning prayer. The scripture says, He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Notice the divine pattern. When you call, he answers. When you are in trouble, he doesn't remove his presence, he intensifies it. And when you endure with faith, he doesn't just deliver you, he honors you. That means every battle you have faced after a morning prayer wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to promote you. Every delay, every disappointment, every difficulty was a divine opportunity for God to prove his faithfulness to you. You see, Psalm 91 doesn't promise a life free from challenges. It promises a life filled with divine companionship. It doesn't say there will be no arrows, it says they won't reach you. It doesn't say there will be no pestilence, it says it won't come near your dwelling. The beauty of this covenant is not in the absence of storms, but in the assurance of God's shadow over you in every storm. When you pray in the morning, you are choosing to walk under that shadow, no matter how fierce the heat of the day becomes. This is why prayer must become your lifestyle, not your emergency plan. Many run to God only when chaos comes, but those who dwell in the secret place don't need to run. They are already there. They live in the presence of peace before the problem ever appears. That's the kind of maturity God desires for you, to live in such awareness of him that nothing can easily shake you. The storms may roar, but they cannot move a soul that has made God its dwelling. When you pray each morning, you are not just protecting your day, you are transforming your destiny. You are rewriting the patterns of fear that once controlled your life. You are stepping into a rhythm of divine alignment that allows God to shape your thoughts, your reactions, and your results. You are allowing him to be the author of your day. And when God authors your day, he fills every chapter with purpose. Even the interruptions become instructions. Even the disappointments become directions. There will be days when prayer feels heavy, when words fail you, when your mind feels crowded. But remember this, God listens beyond your words. He hears the cry of your heart. Sometimes silence in his presence speaks louder than 1,000 sentences. You may think nothing is happening, but in those still moments, heaven is moving. Angels are being assigned. Doors are being prepared. Strength is being restored. Because prayer isn't always about speaking, it's about abiding. And as you abide, something begins to shift deep within you. The more you seek him, the more you become like him. You begin to think his thoughts, love his way, and see through his perspective. The secret place is where transformation begins. That's why the enemy tries to steal your mornings, because he knows that a believer who meets God before meeting the world is undefeatable.